Hi there, it's me, Jordan Van Haslo. Welcome to Jordan Van Haslo and Friends live on Hot 702.5 FM Las Vegas. Let's get on with the show. Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Showtime with Jordan Van Haslo and Friends right here on Hot 702.5 FM Las Vegas. Today, I am so excited to introduce a friend to our show and a buddy to me. We met about a year ago. As most of you know, I'm the board president of the Entertainment and Arts Alliance, the EAA, and we partnered with our friend and friend to the show, writer Susan-Sojourna Collier, to found the Mamie and Jimmy Collier Writing Fellowship. And we launched it last year with a wonderful celebration in Atlanta. And during that launch event, we had 3 ambassadors, one of whom is here today. And her script was so amazing. It was called Real Magnolias, and we're going to talk a little bit about that, but I'm so excited. She has been doing a lot of really interesting things this year. I'm excited to learn a lot more than I do about her background, and she has some really interesting things coming up, so we're going to talk about that. So without further ado, I introduce you to Raihven Minter. Hi, Raihven.
Hi, Jordan. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here. It's been way too long.
Yes, it's been but I'm so happy to be here and I'm happy to be on the show.
Absolutely. So before, because I want to learn everything there is to know about you, but I want to talk about Real Magnolias. Bit of a take on Steel Magnolias, and it took place in a beauty shop, and the women were all sitting around, and they started talking about some really heavy topics. I guess you can tell us a little bit more about it. I don't want to, because it's been about a year, so I don't want to
Yeah. I got you. Okay, so really is about a woman who goes to the salon because she wants a change and she just feels like she has no control over her life. She says she wants to dye all her hair dye blonde and be like Mary J. Blige because Mary J. Blige has all her life together. And she just keeps going back to this song, just fine, 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 as she's getting her hair done. And her stylist is like, what's going on? Like, this is not like you. You've been coming to me for years. You always just get your silk press and you're just trying to do something different. So they talk and they find out that the woman's daughter came out to her, and that's why she feels so out of control and doesn't really have any control over her life and feels as the dyeing her hair will give her some control back. At the end of the script, she is so like in the feelings of not feeling something, because we find out that she was when her daughter told her that she didn't really respond, that she just kind of like walked away because she didn't really know how to process it. So she kind of processes it in the salon. During that process, she leaves the dye on her hair for way too long and it all comes out. But she
How
finds
cathartic.
but she does like come to the realization that she like loves her daughter anyway, and that there's nothing that she could do that would make her not love her.
Where did that story come from? Like I said, I was like totally riveted the entire time the actors were reading it.
Oh yeah, I'm so happy that you liked it. I was it's like a couple different places. I grew up in a salon, so I've like always been in salons and I try to draw from that a lot. And then a lot of times when I write, I like to find like a song that I like and just like try to keep nailing that in there. Originally, it
Yeah.
was like a bunch of different like puns on Mary J. Blige songs in the script,
Uh-huh.
but I had to cut those out. Those they didn't make it. They weren't strong enough. But really, it was kind of pulling off of my situation with my mom. I kind of was outed in a sense, and we never really like talked about it the way that we wanted to talk about it until like later. So that's really where I drew from on that.
Yeah. I love you talk about writing towards songs. I remember watching an interview with Jackie Collins. You remember Jackie Collins, the romance writer? She wrote
Yes.
all the sexy romance, and that's how she used to write. She's like, because all of her books would have like salacious sex scenes. And she's like, so
Ah.
she said it like I sit at my word processor because it's like the 90s. She's like, and I put on Luther Vandross, and I started.
Just start feeling it. I get it,
Exactly.
Jackie.
So let's talk about you. So you're based in Atlanta. Are you born and raised in Atlanta?
I am. For generations, we've been in Atlanta. Yeah.
Okay. So you're like
Native
an Atlantan through and through.
through and through. A true Georgia peach.
Indeed. So talk to me kind of about your journey. Like, did you start out like were you a very verbal child? Like, did you start out writing and saying like I have a story to tell, or was writing something that you slowly came to?
I feel like it's kind of a blend. Like growing up, I did used to write a lot. I didn't realize it though until I joined Professor Collier's writing class. And I was like, all these stories that I was just like retelling from when I was telling them when I was little. I used to have like this little rainbow booklet and I used to write stories about like how I wished my life would be. And it would be like scripts of episode 1 and episode 2, kind of like that. And that's really how I remember starting writing. But I didn't like
Yeah.
officially
But
like write it.
you always, and I'm sorry to interrupt you, but like, so you always like, when you even just before you realized you were a writer, you always saw it as like a film or television show. It wasn't like, I'm writing a novel or I'm writing roses are red, violets are blue.
No poems, nothing. It was straight to TV, straight to air.
Yay. I'm sorry. So continue.
Oh, but yeah, and then my sister's a singer, so I did a lot of her or like when we were trying to get her started up with like photography and videos and like a lot of her graphics and stuff. We didn't really have the resources, so I would just like step up and do it for a lot of
Hmm.
her stuff. So that's really how I got into like production and like video production and stuff like that.
Got it.
And then when I went to college, I started originally as a biomedical or a biology major, and I did my first 2 years in biology because I wanted to be a biomedical engineer. But I
So where
started,
do you get, I always wonder about that because like I mentor a kid who's a film student now, and he started out in pre-med like, I'm gonna be a doctor. And it's so interesting to me because I've done things, I've been working in since I was a kid, and it was always
Mhm.
like this is the industry that I'm gonna go into. And it seems like such a divergence from being a biomedical engineer. Like, I don't know, when I was in high school, I even knew what the hell a biomedical engineer did.
I was I was so heavy into that. I took like engineering classes and like AP physics and stuff in high school just to prepare
Uh-huh.
me for like a biology degree and like going into that field. But when I got
Was
there, it
that
was
what you were interested in, or was that kind of like something that like the parents were like, "You're gonna be a scientist"?
it was more
I sound
like
like Tony the Tiger. I'm sorry. You're great.
it was more like it just felt like that was where the money was, that you could do both. That's how it felt.
Okay.
That's how my parents always pitched it to me. Like you could write, no one can ever take that away from you, or you could take pictures and no one can ever take that away from you. But you should have like a career path that you're going down and that you're wanting to follow that'll lead to money.
Right.
Because
What
when I
type
was
of work
in,
did they do?
my mom is a
Your parents?
they own hair salons.
Okay. Oh, you said you grew up in hair salons. Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. So go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, no, you're good. But when I was like, I think it was like a junior in college, I made it halfway through in all my biology classes, and I finally switched over to film and media as like my major. And I showed my mom I made the dean's list, shows I made the right decision. I showed it to her, and she was like, "What does it say your major is?" And I was like,
You're like, oops.
right. I was like,
So
"Oh,"
you outed yourself twice.
I was like, right. It was kind of a theme for me, huh? But yeah, it was like, dang, I did tell her myself. I told her myself that time.
Oh, so how did she take it when you're like, yeah, well, I
She was
made the
like,
dean's list.
right. She's like, oh, congratulations on the dean's list, but what does this say? Does this say film? Did you change your major? And I was like, yeah. She was like, Raven, she's like, I don't mind that you change your major, but you better make some money. Like, I don't care what you do. Make some money. I said, okay.
Oh my God. I love it. So that was your junior year, and then you had your senior year and you graduate. And so now what? Because that's the big thing that usually happens with most people when they come out of school, especially if it's not a traditional career where you had an internship, and after your internship, they're like, we have a job waiting for you. So you graduate, and
So
now what?
I graduated. Well, really, when I started, after I had that conversation with mom, and she was like, "You have to make some money." I was like, "Okay, well, let me figure it out." So I like made a list of all the production companies in like the Atlanta area because I felt like I had wasted kind of 2 years where I was like 2 years behind everybody else where they had been
Mm-hmm.
in like film, and I just started taking production one halfway through my time there. And I knew I wasn't taking any more years. Like I told myself at the beginning that I was graduating in 4 years and I don't care what I have to do, if I take summer classes or what, I'm not staying longer than the 4 years because I never wanted to go. But
Mm-hmm.
um I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought.
So after school, like
Oh
what was
yeah.
your when did you graduate?
So when I was in school, I made a list of production companies, I called all of them, and I started working for some as like a production assistant while I was in college. And then after I
Mm-hmm.
graduated a couple years, like I worked at State Farm in the meantime. I worked at State Farm during college and after college, but I was able to come back to one of the companies that I PA'd for, and I now work here as a producer.
Oh, wonderful. So what type of work do you do? What type of work do they do? Is it scripted, unscripted,
So it's a little bit of
news?
everything. I want to say we do a lot of commercial work though, not really news, anything news like, but we do a lot of
Okay.
commercial work, more like internal, a lot of events, production, do a lot of like post, like graphics, stuff like that. But I just like kind of do like post production and then also like crewing because we do a lot of like interviews of some like philanthropic people like Bernie Sanders or Jeff Sanderson. Um,
Right. Is it
so
stuff
stuff like
that
that.
like is it like producing things that like they use for their own like industrial like Bernie Sanders is interviewing and it's something that he's going to use for his own like on his site or for his own work, or is it
It's with like a
things that you
company.
guys then get distributed?
So we produce with like they'll hire us as like the production company. So there'll be like a company that's working with Bernie Sanders very closely, and they're like, "Oh, we want to give you guys the project. Can you guys help us produce it, get us everything that we need, and do everything that we're asking you to do?" And that's basically
Got it.
how we go about it.
Got it. Okay, cool. How do you like producing versus just the like writing? Because I mean, producing is so collaborative and you have to interact with so many people and so many different personalities. Whereas when you're writing, you just get your headphones on and you put on your Luther Vandross and you just do your own thing. How do you how do you like each of them compared to the other? And do you have a preference?
So really my goal in the whole film thing is to be like writer director. I really enjoy directing. And I always told myself that like working on sets like as a PA or wardrobe assist, I feel like I've worked every job on a set. I'm not gonna lie. But I always said that that's what I wanted to do was to work every job. I want to be in office, I want to be on set, I want to try everything so that when I'm making my own films, I can be accurate in the things that I'm asking my team for and like kind of have
Right.
like an
And then if they're
understanding of
not
like
doing it, you can be like, look, I did that job, you little punk.
right, it works both ways.
Don't snow me.
Right, like you're taking too long with that wire. But yeah, that's how it is. It is a lot more talking though. Like I didn't realize it when I kind of got into this position that it would be so much communication that I would have to have with like different people and like trying to get what you need out of someone without like having to like be like, oh, I need this, kind of like
Hmm.
gradually or like coaching people into getting you what you need.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I'm curious when you were a kid, because I know a lot of times, like, especially when families are entrepreneurs, a lot of times it's like, this is my legacy. You're going to carry on the family business. Like my stylist, who's been on the show, as a matter of fact, she's based in LA. Nicole, her father, is a very well known hairstylist in Detroit, and like has a line of products and all of that. And she kind of followed in his footsteps. Was going into the hair business ever something that someone either attempted to thrust upon you, or something that you ever thought that you might have done when you were growing up?
No, my mom always was very much so like go to school, like go to
Mhm.
school, get a degree, go to school, get a degree. And then she's pretty prominent, like especially in the Atlanta area as like a hairstylist. She used to do hair for like Escape and the group Black. So she used to go on tour a lot. Um,
Right.
but with that, she missed like a lot of us growing up sometimes until she like stopped doing it. So she taught me a lot with it, and I'm using it now, like with trying to do production and stuff like that. So it's kind of like the same type of thing. But she never was like, "You should do hair." No, I'm not that good at it.
Right.
I can't braid. I can't do anything.
Your hair looks good now.
Thank you. I actually did this. I did this myself today.
Just you got your little baby hairs up front.
Yeah.
I see you. Oh, that's interesting. So talk to me just about your writing. Like I said, the only thing I've ever both read and seen of your work is Real Magnolias. Are there I remember one thing. So I don't know if you know this. I actually became friends with Sojourner because she was my writing teacher. Many,
Oh,
many eons ago, I was trying to get into the soap world. And I was like, well, if I'm going to learn this medium, I need to learn how to, if I'm going to get work in this medium, I'm going to need to learn how to write this medium. And I searched and searched and searched. And I found this woman who came out of soaps who offered writing lessons. And so we started working together one on one, and then that turned into we started working on projects together, and we've now been friends for a really 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 long time. But one of the things I will never forget, one of the first things that she told me, which I found true in my own writing and started recognizing in others, is that, and I think it's something that what's his name, Sherwood Forrest, the guy who created like Gilligan's Island and the Brady Bunch. He kind of says that people tend to sort of write the same story over and over again. So like in his instance, it was always about a bunch of disparate people being thrown into a situation and having to figure it out, a la the Brady Bunch.
right.
You know, this mixed family now thrown together and having to figure it out. Gilligan's Island, a bunch of strangers getting shipwrecked and now having to figure it out. Do you find that there are specific themes that keep popping up in a lot of your scripts?
I know a theme that I have is music. So it is always there's always a song somewhere in there. And then I always write about
Yeah.
personal stuff for some reason. I don't know. I just do write about like or like I'll write about something personal but like extremely exaggerated. Because that's one thing that she did teach me was to not be
Mm-hmm.
so nice to my characters.
So she says, it's like put this, turn the screws on them.
Yeah, she's like, just throw stuff at him. Just throw it at him. I'm like, okay.
I love it. So talk to me about some of the other things that you've written. So do you write a lot of short things? Have you written a bunch of features? Have you written?
So really shorts for me. I don't know. I've got to work my way up to features. I feel like that's a large task. There's like so many different variables with creating like that world that you have to make. And then for that
Mhm.
long to keep that consistency for me scares me. So I do stick with shorts, but I've written a couple. One of them, the one that I'm working on now is called Unforgettable. And I
Mhm.
submitted that to the screencraft writing competition when I was in Soja's class. And it made it as one of the quarterfinalists. And it was probably like
Yay.
one of the first ones I ever wrote. But it's more about it's also Unforgettable is a song by Nat King Cole, which is what it touches upon. And it's
Mhm.
about like a relationship with a girl and her grandmother who has dementia. And it's kind of loosely based off my relationship with my grandmother. What
Yeah.
else do I have? I was trying to go to NYU one semester, and they had like this really neat like writing process where they give you like I think they gave you like the first line and the last line, and you had to write to
Yeah.
that, which was
Uh-huh.
so
I
fun.
remember doing that. Sojourner does that in her class. Does she do that with you, or she'll give you like person A says this, person B says this, and
Yes,
then to get at
actually,
the very end, she's like,
the script Unforgettable was one of those from her class. She was like, you have to, first it was like, you only have 2 pages, something like that. And you have to tell somebody you love them without saying, I love you. And you have to leave them. And I'm like, okay. So first I wrote about something that was like a little kid getting dropped up at school. And she was like, can I curse in here?
yes, fine.
She was like, what the fuck is this? She was like, I know you could do better. Go back, rewrite it, do it again. I was like, okay. So I went back, I was like, okay, let me get in my bag. Like, what can I write about? And then I wrote about it. And at first it was called Playing for Memory. And she was like, this is a terrible name. Redo the name. That's not the name. I said, okay. But I came up with something else. And it turned out good though. She was right every time. She was right every time.
Do you write every day?
No, I don't. I don't write that much, to be honest. I have to be very like, I need a reason, I think.
Got it. Got it. That makes sense. Like you're like, okay, like you've heard a new song or you've heard something, you're like, all right, I need to. So what's your process? Like, are you, because I know some people like, okay, you don't write every day, but like some people are like just kind of just like, I write for an hour every day. Other people are like, oh my God, I feel inspired. They shut off their phone, leave me alone, go away. And then like they go away for the entire weekend and don't shower and don't eat. And they just sit there furiously typing on the on the computer. What's your process? Are you like that, or are you kind of somewhere in between?
I'm so ADHD, I can never turn my phone off or anything. So like I kind of just like I don't know. It's very like organic how it comes for me. It's kind of just like if I have to write about something, I'll be like, okay, well, what I'll get like a Google Doc open and I'll try to come up with like topics that I want to write about. And then I'll try to pick out which I feel is the strongest of those topics. And then I'll try to just go from there. Or I'll like, I have like a whole bunch of notes like in my phone of just like different
Mm-hmm.
ideas that I like want to write about. So I'll just like go through there and just like, okay, well, this one seems like a good one today. Or I'll pull from like family. Like I had one about my nephew one time meeting like an alien that fell from space. It's just like a bunch of just random. It's always random.
When was the last time you wrote, and what did you write about?
Last time that I wrote, and what did I write about? I actually had to write today, but it was for work. And it
Oh.
was I
Okay,
had
so
to
when was the last time you wrote for yourself, and what did
tell
you write about?
myself. Mm. So I've still been revising my script Unforgettable. So that's probably the last thing that I
Okay.
revised. I went back and I was like trying to just figure out a way to make it seem like there was another layer of like her internal conflict instead of it just being like, oh, you
Mm-hmm.
have to put your grandmother in a home, like more of like, oh, you have to put your grandmother in a home, but also like you're missing out on life. Like your friends are off to college and they've been to college for 2 years and you're scrolling through Instagram and that's like something that the audience could see that helps like add on to that conflict.
Right, right. Oh, poor girl. I feel sorry for her, and you're just telling me about it.
Right. I was good to add that in there. Yep.
Exactly. Yes.
Extra wow factor.
Oh my God. Has any of the things you write, any of the scripts you write, like I know we did a reading of your Real Magnolias. Has any of your writing been produced at all? Have you shot anything that of
Yeah.
your writing? Because you talked about being wanting to ultimately be a director as well.
Yes, we actually did. It was a couple of years ago. I wrote a story called Two Inside, which is a basketball play where you have to throw the ball to one person and whoever makes the shot is the winner or whatever. But
Right.
it was based off of the Cain and Abel story from the Bible, where the two
Mm-hmm.
brothers kind of like go at it, and then one ends up killing the other. That's exactly what it was. But it was just
Spoiler
based.
alert.
Right. Uh oh. Uh-oh. But yeah, that's what that was about. But it was good though. I liked it.
Well, that's awesome. How long was it, and where'd you shoot it?
We shot it here in Atlanta. It was only about 7 to 10 minutes. It wasn't long at all. It was
Okay.
as short as well.
Did you
Yeah.
direct it yourself,
I
or
did. I directed, produced it, wrote it. It was
you
like,
like acted in it? You're
yeah,
like,
you can see me in the background. We like made like dollies out of just like rolling chairs, but it all worked out. Like to talk about it is more like, wow, did they really shoot a movie? Like, is it okay? Was it good? It sounds like it kind of wasn't, but no, it was actually really good. Like I was blown away.
Yeah, well, that's what it is, right? It's the guerrilla warfare. Like, unless you have a studio and you have lots of money, you gotta figure it out. I love you, like using a rolling chair as like a
Yeah.
steady cam.
We had a photographer, and all you see is me just dragging my friend like this across the basketball court. It was great though.
Oh my God. That's so wonderful. Did you end up releasing it anywhere, like on YouTube, or did you like send it off to festivals or anything like that?
I do have it like up on my site, but I didn't send it to any festivals. I don't know, I was kind of hard on myself at the time, not thinking that it was as good as it actually is. And I definitely should have submitted
Hmm.
it somewhere because my actors did a great job, and I should
Yeah.
have followed
Well,
through
it's
with that.
not too late.
Never
I
too
mean, if it
late.
hasn't officially been released, there's no reason you can't still send it off to festivals and such.
But it's true. Listen, you're giving me ideas, Jordan.
Well, that's what I am. I am the idea man. So tell me because you have something coming up very, very, very soon now.
Yes, we're going to be filming Unforgettable in October.
Yay! And you're directing this as well?
I am directing, and
This is
Sojourna is
exciting.
producing.
Yay! So exciting. So talk to me. So now you're a writer, you're a producer, you're a director. Is it the mix of all of it that gets you really excited? Or like if I were to hold a gun to your head and say, listen, you only have to do one of these things for the rest of your life, would you be able to make an easy decision of like, oh, I'm writing, or oh, I'm directing, even if it's not my projects?
Um,
Or I'm working as a producer for someone else because I get a paycheck and health insurance. You know,
that's my mama told me.
that's what your mother would tell you exactly.
I'm a great listener now. Sure, great listener. But
Well, it's
I
funny how those things matter, right? Once you're like on your own, it's funny. You're like, oh,
once you get
dental
to a
insurance
taste,
is nice.
any type of
Oh.
insurance is nice. You're like car notes, bills. Like, I gotta do
This direct deposit thing's kind of cool.
right, like weekly, right? I love it here. But I feel like if I had to like list them out like in a list, I feel like they all
Hmm.
have their pros and cons. Producer would definitely be last on my list. And then it would be writer and then director.
And then director. What is
Yeah.
it about the directing that you love so much versus say writing?
I like my favorite thing about directing, I have to say, is just watching everything come together. Like
Yeah.
visually for me. Like even when like all odds are like against you and it's like you're like uphill, like running full speed. And like, oh my God, like I don't know. And then it's just like a beautiful, blissful, like seamless thing that you created from your mind. I love that.
Yeah. Yay. That's lovely. So you guys are you're filming Unforgettable. How many pages is Unforgettable now?
Unforgettable is my longest one. It's 20 pages.
20
I
pages.
know I stepped
Look,
out.
move over, Scorsese. This is
I outdid myself with that one. 20 whole
this is
pages.
exciting. So is it all, when do you guys go into principal photography?
The first weekend of October.
First week, so it's oh my God. So you guys are like there, like if you started casting and all of that jazz.
We are in like the middle of casting. We are sending out, or we're receiving like a lot of submissions from like different people right
Hmm.
now, and going to be reviewing those like in the next couple of weeks. We have some like what is it called? Some union actors that we are trying
Hmm.
to acquire right now because of this strike. See if we can
Right.
get some people, get some names on this project. But yeah, that's where we're at right now. Definitely in the casting. And then in the film,
Yeah.
I was able to find like this really dope cellist because that's what the script is kind of circled around is two women who play the cello. So I found a cellist who's going to be like a composer for the film, and she gave me my first cello lesson a couple weeks ago. And cello is hard, so I was like, I gotta get these actors, I gotta get them some cello lessons. We gotta hurry up and cast.
Did you did you play an instrument at all when you were a kid? Because I know a lot
No,
of school districts like you were like aspire to like at least play like the recorder when you're like third grade or something?
I was in chorus. This was my voice, my tool right here, my
Uh,
box. No, no instruments. I was
so
in, girl, this is hard.
yeah, yeah. The so back to Unforgettable. So where are you shooting it? Are you guys doing it in a studio? Are you guys doing it on location? I mean, I don't know where it takes place and all that. Are you do you have like locations? Like I want to know everything about it. Like I'm so excited. I'm just like envisioning this in my head.
So the reason why this one is kind of like a bigger deal than the last ones is there's a couple different locations that we have to be at. So it'll be here in
Hmm.
Atlanta, and we'll have the first location will be like a home, which will be like the grandmother's home. One of the locations will be like a nursing home. There'll be a diner location, and then that's it. Those are the only locations. And then like inside of
Yeah,
cars, like conversations inside of cars. But getting the diner, I think might be the diner and the nursery might be my biggest task ahead of me.
totally. Because then you need like the extras and you need like to make sure that yeah.
I forgot an auditorium. So it starts with her like performing in like her dream in a dream state. She's performing in front of like a big audience at Juilliard.
Okay.
So I have to acquire that too. Yeah, yep.
Oh, that's
That
cool.
reminded me.
Original song or are you licensing music?
We're looking at doing original songs.
Yeah. Oh, this is so thrilling. So what's the goal when once you guys put it out? Is the goal to go like the festival route or is the
Yes.
goal to yeah.
Straight to festivals. I'm trying to go to all the festivals. I think it's gonna be really good. And I have like a really good team like working with me on it and like helping me out. So
Yeah.
I think we're gonna eat the festivals up. I'm not gonna lie. I cannot lie.
Are you still tweaking the script or do you think you have it kind of on lock now?
So I'm definitely still tweaking. I feel like always working on it, always trying to get it exactly like where I want it to be. And once we start
Hmm.
doing like readings of it, I should be doing a reading on this Friday. Up there in New York. We'll see.
Oh,
Fingers crossed.
really?
Mhm.
Oh my God, let me know. I want to come and watch.
Oh, do you? Okay, okay. I will. I will. I will. I think it'd be really fun. Yeah.
Yay! This is so exciting. Oh, I'm so excited for all of your success. So what else, right? So I like if you're anything like me, you always have like 18 different things going on. Like there's a thing you're working on currently that's like in fruition. There's a thing that you maybe finished, but you still are like dealing with from whether it's press or whether it's like just, dealing with the all the stuff you have to do once you finish something. And then again, I always have like 18,000 ideas in my head. And like, oh, let's start working on this. Tell me about some of the things that you're working on now.
So I'm working on a couple different things. So we wrapped up on another video shoot. It's like a short that we did. A, like 2 weeks ago, we wrapped on it. So now we're in post production of that. We got to go back and do like some audio recordings to try to help with the um I guess with the edit because most
Mm,
of the beginning part of it is really about a boy who broke up with his girl or his girlfriend broke up with him, and he's like in a state of despair, kind of like hazy. So he goes to the therapy, and we see like a conversation between a black male therapist and then a black man in therapy, which you never kind of really get to see anywhere. So
mm-hmm.
we talked about that in that one, and we're posting that one. And then I also have like I have a business. It's called Baddies Cry, and it's like smoker products.
Baddies.
Baddies, yeah.
Okay. Uh-huh.
But it's like smoker products and like playlists and stuff, but it all comes together. So I've been working on stuff with
Yeah.
that, like little events, and then hosting a we want to do like a fundraising event for this film, Unforgettable, and host it down here in Atlanta and rent out like a park and make it like a family reunion type of thing, but also with
Yeah.
like a basketball tournament and like kickball and have people like pay for plates and entry and just everything for the family, really.
Oh, but it's not only is it like a clever idea to raise money, but just the whole, like, this is like a family reunion. So it's like, that's really, I like that. That's lovely.
Thank you.
Yeah. So is Atlanta it for you? Like you're born in Atlanta, you're gonna die in Atlanta, or do you see yourself eventually like moving to New York or Los Angeles at some point and like going Hollywood and driving in your Maserati sunset.
I'm definitely gonna die here. I'll definitely die in Atlanta. I know that for sure. I will be buried here in Atlanta next to my family and them. But for now, like I would love to move to New York. I think New York is like the one for me for now. I've never been a fan of LA for some reason. Like it just always, every time I go, I'm just like the chills. Never been a fan of her. She's cute though, but I've just never been a fan of her. She's real cute.
So as a director, when you think about your career, right? So you work as a producer and you write and you direct your own things. In terms of like, you say like producing is like number three. If you were to ever like, are you only interested in directing your own work and telling your own stories? Or could you see yourself making that leap and being like for hire as a director? It's like, oh, movie, we'd like to hire you to direct this. Oh, yes, sure. We'd love to hire you to direct that. Or are you pretty wanting to just tell your own stories?
I'm interested in all stories. I never want to be like put in a box with it either. By only doing things that I've written or only producing things that I've written. I produced other things. Last year I produced this film called Late to the Party, and we made it to the Atlanta Film Festival in April of this year. And we just made it into the New Orleans Film Festival. So we'll be going to New Orleans in November of this year. So that was one that I just hopped on now as a producer, came and filled in where I needed to fill in at, and just helped where I could. And then the one that we did a couple weeks ago was written by one of my friends I went to college with. He actually won the screenwriting competition at the Atlanta Film Festival, and was like, I just think you're like a really dope director. I just really love your vision. Like, check this script out. Are you interested? And I was like, yeah, let's do it. So then like, I really enjoy taking, I don't know, I really enjoy like bringing it to life, like the paper, because there's so
Yeah,
many different ways that you could look at things, and there's so many different ways that things could be said and interpreted. But I don't know, I feel like
totally.
I have like a unique way of like doing that. I feel like it's like when I tell somebody, they're like, well, how did you think of that? And I'm like, how did you not think of that? But I feel like it's kind of like a unique way that I do it. So I
Yeah,
do want to do that. Like I would love to bring anybody's story to life, or in any sense, like produce it, direct it, however I can help. I would love to be a part of it.
yeah. What's that like, telling other people's stories as a director? Because I know sometimes, especially writers, can be very, very territorial about their babies, right? Because it's like, I've been working on this piece for the last 5 years, and this is, and then as you're a director or you're producing it, you're like, well, I don't think this is going to look the way it looks in your head, so maybe we should dot dot dot. How do you march that fine line to keep everybody happy
Happy.
while maintaining your vision of this is the way that's going to be the best way to tell the story?
I feel like I just have to trust my gut. Like I feel like a lot of things in life are just like intuition and just trusting like your vision and trusting what you know. So that's what I try to do. And then I'm just like, well, this is what I got from it. What did you get? Or how do you feel about what I got from it? Or could you see how I got this from that? Just so we could try to like, you could try to understand where I'm coming from as someone who's trying to envision it versus someone who wrote it. I remember one
Right.
time in college, this guy had wrote a script called The Revenant, I think. Is that a movie?
The
Revenant?
Revenant's the movie with
Yep.
Leonardo DiCaprio where he's like out in the wilderness. Yeah.
So he wrote a script like that, but it was supposed to be like funny, but I was made it hysterically hilarious. Like it was just supposed to be like normally like the Revenant, but he like gets killed by swallowing a gummy bear instead of attacked by a bear. So
Uh,
when I read the script, I was like, oh my God, I love this. Like this is my favorite thing ever. But I was like, let's set it in the 70s and let's send him up to Jesus. Like he's talking to God. This is heaven. We're going to do 70s heaven and just make it like really bizarre. Because like how do you just choke on a gummy? But when he watched it, he was like, okay, like I understand. This is cool. I like your idea. I was like, okay, bet, because I was kind of far, like very
Off
left
away
field,
from.
very left field.
Oh, do you watch a lot of television and film?
I do. I do. I watch a
I
lot.
myself am like a television holic. My television is always on, and I'm always watching something.
What's your
How about
go-to?
you? Okay. It depends on the mood I'm in. Like if I say go to, like if it's just like I just need something on, my go to is usually like Law and Order SVU. That's usually my go to.
That's a good one. Olivia. Olivia is my girl. I'll never switch up on her.
Can I tell you, I just rewatched, as a matter of fact. Sounds so sad. It's like summertime and I live in New York and I should be out and about and having such a wonderful, but I literally just about a week and a half ago I rewatched season 18. Can I tell you, that is probably the best season of that show in the
18?
world. The whole arc of 18. 18 is an amazing season. So put that in your queue.
Yeah, I gotta add that to my list. Because they're on like season 24. I just like casually just watch them as they pop up. And I'm always so lost because I'm never like in, like watching them
Yeah, get
cohesively.
into it. Uh-huh. Oh my God, it's like the best. I'm telling you. So maybe you need to just start at the beginning and start to put it on and just go to sleep with it. And then eventually you'll get the.
Everything will just
But so
kind of
that's
align.
the other thing. So, that's like my go-to. But I watch so much TV. So the other thing I've been doing is trying to watch things that I never watched before. Because there are a lot of shows that were big hits and things like that that I just never saw simply because I had too many things, right? I had too many
Mhm.
things going on and watching. So I didn't. So I just started going back to now Blackish and I'm in season 2. That show is so bloody hilarious.
It is. It's really funny. I really like Kenya Barris and a lot of his stuff that he does.
Oh my gosh, I'm so like I'm like tearing through it. I think it is so funny and I think it's so honest and I think it's so I don't know. So that's what I'm into right now. So we always have SVU.
Hmm.
I'm watching Blackish right now. I restarted watching Will and Grace again from the beginning. And so like I'm like slowly reworking through that. And then my show now that's like a show that's on now that, everything's on hiatus right now. But
Hmm.
Billions. Do you watch Billions? Billions just came back. I love Billions.
I
And
have
I'm so
not
sad
watched
that
it.
this is the last season.
I have to look that up. But Will and Grace, did you watch the new episodes yet? Because
I
they brought it back.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. No, I watched it all. Oh my God, Jose is like, we need to watch Boston Legal. He's been trying to get me to watch Boston Legal for like the last 7 years, and it's in my queue, and I still haven't started it, much to his chagrin. But no, because I watched Will and Grace like the entire time it was on, and then I was so excited when it came back, and so I watched it all.
Mhm.
Um, and I don't know, for some reason I was like, I want to go on this journey with them again. And so, but I did watch the new episodes, and I thought it was still just as funny. Sometimes I kind of wonder, it's sort of like the Connors and Roseanne. Sometimes I
Mhm.
kind of wonder, I think everyone gets very nostalgic, right? And then also there's, everyone loves a really nice paycheck. But
Mhm.
sometimes I think when things are so great and so iconic for their time, it's almost best to just like let it be.
Yeah, I
Because
can see
like
that for some shows.
like the Will and Grace, like they ended after the second season, but I don't know if you remember, there was all the press was talking about how there was like acrimony between like two of the actors, and so it's kind of like it sounds like it ended in a way that kind of it didn't tarnish the show, but it was like you should have just left it alone.
Yeah, I could see that.
What's your favorite show of all time?
I'm gonna have to be cliche and say Grey's Anatomy is my favorite show of all time.
Can I tell you? And I used to work for the studio that produces that show. That's a show that I have never, ever, ever, ever watched.
You have to watch it, Jordan. What are you doing?
But aren't there like 38 seasons of that show? Like I'll be watching it till the end of time.
just start. Once you start, you'll never stop. Like you just
And I'll
have to
just get
start
like
something.
totally into it. I'll just get sucked in.
And you'll be like, oh my God. And there's so much that happens. It's so much. You have to start. You have to start.
Well, she's amazing. Shonda Rhimes is such
Yes.
an amazing. Shonda Rhimes is our modern, like she's our generation's Agnes Nixon. Like nobody writes soap operas for the modern world the way that Shonda Rhimes does. I mean,
Yeah.
like Scandal. I loved Scandal. That was
Have
must-see TV for me.
have you
How to Get
watched
Away with
Queen
Murder.
Charlotte?
Can we talk about us getting there? Queen Charlotte. Oh my God. And like those final scenes under the bed.
Oh my
I
God,
was
I
just
loved it.
like, I was like so glad I was like alone. I was like lying alone in bed and the lights are off. And I was like bawling like a little baby. So good.
I remember getting like on my Instagram and I'm like, if you can't love me under the stars, like if you can't help me find the stars, then please leave me alone. Like if you're not trying to be George and Charlotte, don't talk to me.
Oh, it was so good. And it was such a good way because when it started, it's like I didn't know. Because I finally got on the Bridgerton train actually last Thanksgiving.
Hmm.
I was in Boston for Thanksgiving visiting a friend. And my one friend, she's just really into like romantic movies. Like she's not into violence, she's not into horror. She's all like if you're going to see a movie with her, it's going to be like one of those like Under the Tuscan Sun, or like the Downton, like just like period chick flicks for
Hmm.
lack of a better word. And so I was staying with her because I was having Thanksgiving with her family. And she was like, "Have you seen Bridgerton yet?" And I'm like, "No, I haven't watched Bridgerton. I know everyone's talked about it, yada, yada." She's like, "Sit down." And she made me sit through the first two episodes. And I think I got through that whole show in like the course of a week because I was like hooked on it. And so then when Queen Charlotte came out, I was like, okay, let's see how they're going to do this. And I remember the very first episode, I was like, okay, is this going to be hokey? But man, that stuff was
It's
amazing.
so good. I wanted them to have more episodes. Six
I
episodes would have
know,
been
right? But
amazing.
I hope that they do that for some of the other characters. I think that that would be cool for if they do
Yeah.
that for some of the other characters. But no, it was lovely. And that actress who plays Queen Charlotte, I think she's really, really talented.
I think both of them are even the one who plays like the older version of Queen Charlotte. I think they
Yeah,
both
well,
do
that's what I'm talking. I
amazing.
meant the older, the one who's on Bridgerton, who plays Queen
Oh,
Charlotte
okay.
in Bridgerton. But no, they are very both talented. But I was specifically talking about like older Queen Charlotte. Yeah, and then I also, speaking of period pieces, and although I don't know if they filmed and they're going to come back, or if we have to wait until after the hiatus, do you watch The Gilded Age?
I don't.
The Gilded Age is so good.
I have to add that to my list too. I've been schooled today on TV shows to watch.
So what are you watching?
I'm watching, what am I watching? I was watching The Lincoln Lawyer, which is just something that me and my mom have been watching. Grey's
How
Anatomy.
is that? Because I never watched the movie. The movie was with Matthew McConaughey, right?
I believe so.
Yeah, I haven't seen Lincoln Lawyer.
It's good. They just dropped a like a new season on Netflix. It's pretty good. It's like interesting. It keeps you interested all the time. I really like
Yeah,
Equalizer with Queen
Queen
Latifah. Also
Latifah.
really good. I don't know why I just love her, but it's such a good show to me.
You know what I want to see, and I had forgotten about it. So it's so weird. I usually sleep with the television on, right? And I
Same.
usually start my day with because I'll wake up kind of early, like maybe like 6:30, maybe even a little earlier, and I won't get
Hmm.
out of bed. Like I'll either like watch a television program or I'll watch a movie and kind of like ease into my day. And the last couple of weeks, like I've woken up like at the very beginning of like a classic movie. And when I say classic, I mean something that, I saw as a kid, like not like something from the 30s.
Hmm.
And the other day, Fatal Attraction was on. Fatal Attraction with Michael Douglas and Glenn Close, and they have do you know Fatal Attraction?
I don't. I haven't seen that.
So it came out in like the 80s, and basically he's like this, he's a lawyer, and he's like a total like 80s yuppie. He has a lovely wife and they have a kid,
Hmm.
and he represents like this book firm, and they're at a party, and he meets one of the editors from this publishing house. And, it was just like, nice. He's like, oh, that's your wife, blah, 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 blah. They leave. Well, the wife goes out of town for the weekend up to visit her parents up in Westchester County.
Mhm.
And he goes to a meeting at this publishing house and runs into this woman again. And then that turns into coffee and lunch. And then they basically spend the whole weekend banging while his wife is out of town.
That's
And so it's like, okay, I
good.
just had a fling, yada, 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 yada. Well, this woman becomes obsessed with him. And the whole thing is just her obsession with him and her trying to get his attention and all that craziness. Well, they did, and I think it just premiered like within the last year, they did a series version of it starring James Van Der Beek, and I forget who plays the woman. And it's on, I think, Paramount Plus. And, I'd seen it, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, but I just saw the movie. And so now I'm like, okay, I kind of am in the mood to watch this. So I think that might be the next thing I pick up.
I just looked it up. It does look like it's really good with Lizzie Kaplan. That does look like it
Yes,
would be
yes, Lizzie
good.
Kaplan and James Van Der Beek. Right?
Mm-hmm.
No, Joshua Jackson, the other Dawson's Creek guy.
It looks really good
Yeah.
though. It kind of
But
reminds me
if
of
you
that
haven't seen
story.
the movie's so good. The movie is so good.
I gotta watch it. I gotta add that to my list. Now I have that. I have Boston Legal, season 18 of SVU.
Yeah. You thought you were coming for an interview, and all I did was give you homework.
I feel like I'm back in school.
Have you seen Barbie Oppenheimer?
I've seen Barbie, but I have not seen Oppenheimer yet.
What did you think of Barbie?
I loved Barbie. I thought it was like a really cute story. And I like how they
Wasn't
told
it?
it. It
I
was. It
thought it
was,
was so wonderful.
yes. I thought it was very interesting how they told that story. And I loved
Totally.
the set design was amazing. Her outfit's cute.
Yeah. I remember watching that whole, that whole section of Mattel, the whole Barbie world, I think is so fascinating. Did you ever see there was a series? I don't know if they still produce it, but it was like a couple of seasons on Netflix called The Toys That Made Us. But like each episode talked about like a very famous like toy franchise. Like I think they did Barbie, they did I think He-Man, they did, just, and it would just kind of tell the history of how they were developed. And
Mhm.
I thought it was just so fascinating watching the Barbie one because it's truly a universe. Like they were interviewing one woman, her actual job title at Mattel is SVP of evening wear. So like her entire job is just to design evening wear for Barbie.
Oh, wow.
Right?
What an amazing job to have. Hey, who wouldn't want that? That's a great
And
job.
it's just like, oh my God, that means that there's like an SVP of sportswear and there's an SVP of, and it's just like, it's just so fascinating. It's just so fascinating. But I think they did a really great job. I thought it was really, when it started, I was like, okay, what are we into? But I
Yeah.
really got into it. I really got into it.
And I think their soundtrack helped a lot too. It was like
Yeah.
a great
Well,
soundtrack.
they put so much money into it. I mean, think about think about just the advertising. Like literally there were like tie-ins with everything. Like
Yeah.
Progressive Insurance like was doing Barbie ads.
Their
And this
marketing
place,
was crazy.
but I mean, I guess that was the goal, right? This was really just a really big commercial to ensure that people who grew up with Barbie love Barbie, and that their kids who maybe have never touched a Barbie love Barbie, and to say we're going to sell this damn toy for the next 150 years. So go out and buy your Barbie. And it did so well. It's done over $1 billion already. But I think it's the highest grossing film by a female director.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wow. Congratulations, Greta Gerwig.
Right? So good. Well, listen, I could talk to you forever and ever and ever and ever and a day, but unfortunately, we have advertisers, so we have to let them do their thing. But it's been so great to like really, really, really get down in the trenches and get to know you today. And
Yes.
I'm so excited about you filming Unforgettable. Where can our audience find you? Like, do you post a lot on the Instagram? Do you TikTok? Are you a
Yes.
tweeter or an Xer, I guess it's called now?
That is the worst thing they ever could do was change the name of that app.
We could have
But
another hour just talking about that.
but you can find us. We have a website. It's unforgettable2023.com. And you can find us on
Okay.
all socials. We're mostly on Instagram at unforgettable_the film. And you could find out more about the characters, more about the crew, and more about like how we're fundraising and different events that we'll have like in the city. And you could also
Awesome.
follow me on Instagram at Raihven.
And that's Raihven.
Exactly.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us. And I can't wait to speak to you again very, very soon. And thank all of you for joining us for another episode of Showtime with Jordan Von Haslow. We will see you next week right here on Hot 702.5 FM Las Vegas.